Hey, what's up, everybody? Let's see. Does everything seem to be working tonight? I think so. Let's see. Audio mixer. Yeah, looks like I'm getting audio. As always, let me know if something's not working out right. If you've been here before, you know that I've had problems where the audio was only coming in one channel. I think I have that worked out because I'm just recording or doing the audio with my recorder tonight, so it should be in stereo. Something I don't notice as much, but people listen on headphones a lot, and I guess is why could I, as a music freak, I know that'd be super annoying just to have one channel working. So let's see. How was everyone's Thanksgiving? Thanksgiving weekend. Mine was pretty different, like everything. Made my last video about it, but yeah, we didn't do anything on Thanksgiving as a family. My immediate family, we're all here in town, but we all decided we better distance. And turns out my brother has COVID, so that was the right choice. Not so much, I was worried about myself. It would be a real pain not to be able to work and all that, but obviously my parents would be the biggest concern. And my company doesn't have great health care either. So, yeah, but made the most of it. We had this beautiful weather, so got a couple rides in. Actually worked a lot. Did a photo shoot for some cousins. They actually, one side of my family, another side that I hadn't really seen since I was a kid, they all got COVID tests and then flew in together and like had isolated so they could do family portraits. So I went up to North Olmsted, and it was David, if it's pronounced French, Fournier park, really pretty park. I showed it in the video, some waterfalls, people were fishing. So I did that photo shoot. Then I had a bunch of editing to do. And the reason I didn't go live last week was, well, Thursday was Thanksgiving. Me and Aaron hung out, which we just did like our own, thing. No reason sticking to traditions when they don't, you're not doing anything traditional. But yeah, so I was busy on Thursday, but then I had a bunch of photos that I had taken for local businesses that needed them out for like the Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, Cyber Monday. What now is it? Artist Saturday, Artist Sunday, so type thing. So yeah, I was like rushing to get like I had already taken the photos, most of them, and then I was trying to get everything edited. And on Tuesday night, I wanted to go and do this, but it was like, man, I have way too much editing to do. I need to work and get all this done so I could then enjoy Thanksgiving weekend a little more. And like I said, I did. I rode bikes, hung out with Aaron. We had a fire and stuff like that a couple nights. But I still, had editing to do, and I did a few hours, each day. Then I had a video for Giving Tuesday for United Way of Summit County, and we were going back and forth on that video. So I did a few hours each day working on that to get that ready for them. So they came out really nice. It's I don't know if they'll end up sharing that on social media, and I could share it right now. It's pretty targeted, so it's you know that kind of work that I just don't show everyone. Um, Got a new beer today. Let's see if I can get that to focus. A Fathead's Hazy 8. It's an Imperial Hazy, and it's kind of cool because it's 70 IBU, so it's hazy, which I hate when you get a hazy and it's not actually hazy, but it is hazy, but it's really bitter, so it's kind of a mix between a classic Imperial and then that modern like hazy style everyone likes. It's almost the aroma is hoppy, but it's almost more of the bitterness than the hops going on there. So flavor's more old school. Mouthfeel is more like a hazy. If you wonder why I nerd out on beer, I actually, when I started this channel, it was a beer review channel. Um, Beer review because it was just an excuse to learn how to do video. So to make a little beer review show is how I started to teach myself video. I had my Canon 7D that I bought at the time was able to do video, so I'm like, I should learn how to do this. Totally paid off down the road as my photography clients started asking me if I could do video. I was able to start doing like the simple type things that they needed, and now it's still something I do. And as I've said before, that's also the reason I do these live streams. I'm teaching myself how to live stream, so when my clients start to approach me about this, it's something that I, am able to do. I was inspired by that from the YouTuber and cyclist Terry Berenson. He was doing a morning routine. That's even where I get my name, evening routine. He was doing it pretty much every morning during lockdown in New York. So yeah, I was heavily influenced by his stuff, or his idea. And someone asked him one day if he got any benefit out of doing all these live streams, and he said, "Yeah, he's started to do client work like that." And I'm like, "Huh, I should have that in my what can I think of that toolkit, whatever." Yeah. Let's see. Friend Ben just sent me a message. Does that mean nothing? Does he tell me nothing's working? Is he? Oh, he's drinking the same exact beer. Nice. Yeah, the Hazy 8. It was expensive, unusual for fatheads. You know, they were at the drive-thru across the street. It was $15.99, and they're pretty fair priced spot. So, I mean, just standard, whatever it costs, it's going to cost. Anyways, so some people watching, no one asking any questions or chatting yet, which is fine. I do have, because I have a couple things I wanted to share anyways. Repertoire, as Ben says here. I just realized too, though, I leave these live streams in a playlist on my channel page, but it doesn't show the live chat, and so now I've realized that it must just, if someone goes and watches that later, does it just sound like I'm totally insane because I'm talking to people who aren't there? Like when we did the Bambora unboxing last time, I realized at least then I was reading off questions and saying, "Aaron, someone asked this question." But when I do it solo like this, I'm just responding, and anyone who watches later, and a lot of people actually, not a lot, but some people watch them later, and so I could imagine that it could be a little strange. But yeah, let me show you what it looks like out here today. So I rode over, I just saw actually, what's your face in the chat, Ben, because we went up to Dirty River, and Erin went up to Dirty River, brought her Bambora, and had Otis and Yonda do some of the machining and stuff that, you know, we're not going to have the tools to do at home because she wants to build that bike herself. I don't know if you saw the last video, we ramble for an hour and a half about that kind of thing. But so, like, you know, cleaning off the bottom bracket shell and setting the headset, and I think and then they cut the steerer tube too. I think those are the things they did. But Aaron was going to pick me up, but I decided I would ride my bike. I actually cleaned up my Trek 4900, which is now my winter bike. I actually made a video about it. Well, I shot the video. I haven't done any of the editing yet. I want to do it. I'll put it in the playlist of my series of bikes I own. And so I'm like, perfect time to get that bike cleaned up as my winter bike, because let me show you what it looks like out here. So yeah, this is my ride home just a couple hours ago. I actually haven't even changed. I'm still wearing all the layers. But yeah, we have it really coming down, and I guess Cleveland's been getting it like crazy. Here we started getting it pretty heavy in the evening. It started last night, but it was light, and with the ground being warm, it didn't really stick around. I'm trying to do too many things at once to pay attention. Are pants required for this? Ben from Columbus asked. No, not till I figure out how to get like a Discord server going, or I could show everybody, or like a Zoom thing where I could, patch you guys in video. You could be buck naked if you want. Oh, good. Yeah. I actually am wearing that. I actually do have pants on. Actually, pants and long johns. I'm actually quite warm. You guys got a decent amount of snow in Columbus? I wasn't sure how much of it was lake effect, because sometimes the lake effect will really go south, but up here, and I think it was blowing from the north, and why Cleveland was really getting it, but it's a variable in Ohio that the southern part of the state could not be getting much, and up here, and then especially the snow belt to the east can be getting feet, and then even here in Akron, just 35 miles from the lake, we could be getting barely anything. Yeah, it's on the ground right now here, as you were able to see in the video. Point to my monitor, which is imaginary for you guys, but Yeah, I did. So one thing I want to talk about, I talked about before I started doing the videos in the basement, working on, I did working on my Barry Hoban frame, which I think I'm going to go get back to on Thursday. If you're following that saga of me attempting to do a neo retro build as not a bike mechanic, and then we did the Bombora unboxing over at Aaron's. But I was talking about some drone videos that I had done. Oh, let's see. I got a question here. Do I have a favorite brewery in Akron? Yeah, big fan in the city limits of Akron. Missing Falls is one of my favorite. In the region around, right here down the street from me, because I'm like a tenth of a mile from the Akron city limits here in North Hill. Or from North Hill, I'm in Cuyahoga Falls. So here in the Falls, Hi Ho Brewery is one of my favorite. I actually shot a Kickstarter video for them before they were even open. And then in the broader region, Magic City is one of my favorites. I guess, are they in Akron now? Magic City is from Barberton, but they moved closer to Akron later. This is really good. Now I'm tasting it as more hoppy, but at first that was a very bitter beer. But anyways, yeah, I wanted to show this little, like, kind of the bike shop that Ben works at, Ben from up here, and that a lot of my videos show footage of. Dirty River Bicycle Works moved. They were in the Northside Marketplace, and then they bought an old service station from when did they say it was from the 40s? So I kind of made a little video trying to show people where it moved, and I filmed it with Ben, and it was kind of cool. So what he did, I had him hold the drone, and he walked backwards out of the bike shop, and then I took off and flew away. But when I rendered the video, played it in reverse, so it's showing the old location and the new location, that it looks like it seamlessly flies through the door, which is kind of cool. And now when I thought of that idea, I realized when you see those drone commercials where it goes through like an apartment or a fancy condo or hotel, they're probably doing the same thing, playing it in reverse. So I'm going to throw that on real quick so you can see what I'm talking about. So yeah, something kind of cool. One thing is I would like to have had the gimbal point at the building the whole time. It's fairly hard to control the drone and the gimbal at the same time. If you're doing professional, well, that is professional, I am a professional, but if you were doing like very, very high-end stuff, you would actually have another person with a controller that would be specifically controlling the gimbal. And they even do that for movies a lot of times. There's a focus puller who's actually focusing the camera, a different guy operating the camera. And if it's on a gimbal, same thing. They might have remotes. There might be up to 3 people operating one camera. Obviously, I'm a one-man show here, so it's just, I got to just try stuff a number of times. That was something I kind of didn't realize I missed as much as I did, but I thought it still came out pretty cool. And hopefully helps people figure out where the new spot is. And then the other drone thing I had mentioned that I wanted to share, and it's been shared on social media, but we had a couple really cool out-of-town mural artists come in and paint the side of our Civic Theater, which is this really, really elaborate Lowe's theater, beautiful theater. But the sides of it used to be covered up by buildings that have now been torn down. So they put, they hired these mural artist to come in. I think Knight Foundation paid for it. And so I've been covering the progress, photographing the progress. But the one day I brought my drone out there, I'm like, I'll get some cool photos. And I was going to meet the artist, Wheezy, to take her portrait in front of it. She was so cool, too. Like, I'm doing her portrait and stuff, and she actually hands me her phone. She's like, can you get one from my phone? I really want to send it. Really want to send it to my mom to show her this, you know. And she's kind of, I mean, I don't know if she's world renowned, but she's known around, you know. When we did the Erie Trail, we stopped in Buffalo to see one of her biggest ones. Aaron knew who she was, and other people I didn't know before she came to town, or before, well, I did because Aaron had told me, but a lot of people do know who she is. So then she came up with this idea. She's like, she was asking the people at the Civic, can I get on the roof? And so then we decided to make a video with her on the roof of the Civic. So let me show you guys that one too real quick. I just realized I rendered that in 4K and just tried to play it in 1080. So that didn't really show what the video looked like. It was cropped, basically cropped by whatever that, well, 1:4. So that was a 4-time crop on what that video would have looked like. Oh well, learned a lesson on that. These streams come in at 1080, I believe. And yeah, that was a 4K video from my drone. So anyways, all that leads to this part of the story where on the other side of the building, I went to make something similar. So I'd done a couple scenes, and then I wanted to do a scene where I started kind of close to the mural, and I was going to back the drone way away, fly backwards and up to kind of then give this wide perspective. I was having kind of trouble with the drone that day. It was kind of saying there was a lot of magnetic interference, and then just a number of things weren't working right. And this is what it ended up looking like. So here I am backing away. You see the landmark building there. I let go of the sticks and the drone kept going, and it crashed into the PNC tower. And it landed on the atrium. So I was like, oh my God, that's not good. I actually went into the PNC tower and talked to the lady at the desk. She could not understand what I was saying for some reason. I don't know why. I'm like, I've crashed my drone into your building, and it's on the roof of the atrium, which is like a first floor or whatever. There's like a wider lobby to this really ugly 1960s style building. So actually the building my dad worked in is most of his life. But she's like, your drum? And I was like, my drone. I crashed my drone. I was taking video of the mural across the street and I crashed my drone. She's like, your drum? And I'm like, is there a maintenance guy I could talk to? You know, and trying to make small talk and whatever. And finally I say to her, I said, I crashed my tiny helicopter, you know? And then she calls a guy and she's like, there's a guy down here who's got his tiny helicopter on the roof. Could you come down? So yeah, he grabbed it for me. He went up there and grabbed it for me. Let's see, the gimbal is been pretty bad. It won't move like it should. Obviously the blades are going to be, you know, break off. That's anytime I've crashed it here in the studio, just like sideways, and you have to get new blades. But then there's a pretty considerable dent there. It must be like this. This is the original Mavic. I don't know if you got, if anyone out there, if you follow drones, but the thing I love about this, I got it because I knew the quality wasn't amazing, but people are wild by drone footage. So if it's video, it doesn't need to be that great. The stills are about what an iPhone, well, about similar to what my iPhone 10 would do. But I love that it folds up like this. So when I first started doing videos and like doing bike videos, I could throw it on the bike like and bring it with me. But it must be over 3 years old now. So yeah, Ben's asking, can I fix it? I turned it on. It turns on. It recorded video. I actually must have, like that video where it ends, there's a second video of it just sitting there looking at the sky. And then there's actually a video of the maintenance guy giving it back to me, which if I would have had more time, I would have put on here to show you guys because it's kind of funny it's from the drone's perspective. So maintenance guy coming down the elevator and then you see me in the lobby. But I think it would be irresponsible to try and fly a busted drone that already was having some problems. And then I was already at the point where maybe it's just getting a little long in the tooth. So instead of deciding to fix it, I need one. People do hire me they request for drone photos and drone footage. I ordered the updated version of it. I got the Mavic Pro 2, which actually has a Hasselblad camera that's 20 megapixels. And I've only had the chance to fly it once. There's a little bit of footage in the Thanksgiving video that I talked about earlier. But the footage, the 4K footage from it is just beautiful. I mean, it's amazing. And then the photos, the raw photos that I snapped a couple around sunset, and said I only messed around with them once and for a little bit, but they're like, it's like working with real photos. It's like not working with, not that smartphones are that bad anymore, but it's definitely a step above because they have two versions of the one that replaced this. They have a Mavic, I think it's the Mavic Pro 2, then they have the Mavic Pro Zoom. And basically it has a zoom lens, but a similar camera, tiny little camera like this. And for me, I was like, why would I need a zoom? Because the drone is it. If I want to zoom, you fly the drone, right? Closer. So I opted as a photographer for the better camera. So I could tell it's head and shoulders above. And so I'm kind of glad I did it, even though it wasn't an expense I really wanted right now. If you follow this channel, I just bought a new camera a couple months ago that was very expensive. And I also bought a new monitor. My monitor went bad. So I have a $500 new monitor here for editing photos. But it's one of those things, too, where back before I was actually a professional, I would have agonized over these decisions. And now it's just like, this is the cost of doing business that I don't have a choice. Like, I need this. Like, there are people who are like, one of the reasons we're hiring you is because you have a drone. Or for editing photos, I cannot be editing photos on a monitor that is not showing like true colors and lights and darks. I've been having the monitor I don't quite have set up the way I want yet. I'm still noticing like I don't know what it is. Like maybe it's just an adjustment period. I'm used to the other monitor must have been 8 years old. It had a 6-year warranty. It was a Dell. This is a BenQ. It's 4K and the sharpness is through the roof beautiful. I mean, you just like, you notice like the tiny little text you see even in emails, which doesn't matter, but is just so crisp. It's just so noticeable. And then since I do a 2-monitor setup here, when I drag it, this is an old Apple monitor that was at the studio when I bought it. If you drag something over, you could just see that total difference. So the sharpness is absolutely mind-blowing, and it's 27-inch, and I think my old one was 24, so having this great screen where my photos and my video stuff is, and then having all my tools on the older monitor where sharpness and color doesn't matter that much has just been really awesome. But I do need to still figure out a little bit of tweaking the settings, and there's a program that runs this is did say it's a BenQ, but they have a program that lets you tweak the settings, and I just think I need to get it a little better. I've noticed I'm kind of editing more by histograms, if you know what those are, but then the scopes for video. So in my mind, I know what looks right in these graphical displays of color and light and dark, and I'm kind of relying on that more than what my eye is seeing on the monitor because it's such a different experience for me. Cheers. So yeah, the bummer is too with the drone is even though the new one looks very similar size, slightly heavier, the batteries aren't the same. So I have two batteries that I can't use, and the controller is not the same. It comes with the new controller, but I don't. I almost want to, I don't know, Facebook Marketplace or something, like list the batteries, not because I want to make money on them, but just because they're horrible for the environment. So if someone could use them, that would just be better, even if it was a nominal fee of whatever. I would just rather see them get used than sit here. And maybe there's, who knows, maybe someone's dropped their controller and broke it and could use the other controller. Just some way to at least give a little more life before they end up in the trash. Or, I mean, I'm not going to put them in the trash. I would take them to, electronic recycling or whatever. But still, the drone itself, I think maybe I'd keep the older battery. I was thinking of kind of hanging it maybe somewhere from the ceiling with the arms out. Why not? So yeah, having it somewhere here up in the studio, kind of like a ornament, something like, I don't know if you guys ever watched Casey Neistat, pretty famous YouTuber, but he has all the busted cameras and drones on the wall behind him. Kind of, why not? An expensive little decoration. I think this one, I think with the extra battery, when I bought it, I spent $11 or $1,200. The new one was more like 15, I think, hundred with the extra battery. Not crazy, the Canon R5 I'm filming on is with the kit lens was $5,000. Speaking of that, this came yesterday. It's my this is the adapter, so I could use the old lenses off my other Canons now on the R5, and I can't wait to see what the sharpness looks like, because I have a zoom lens on the R5, but these Sigma primes, these 1.4 R primes, I have the 35 and I also have a 105 f1.4, are just brilliant lenses. So now I'm excited to see them with the 45 megapixel body. I shot a portrait actually today in the studio with it, but haven't had the chance to edit that yet. That'll be first thing tomorrow. Cool thing about the adapter too is it has the new RF lenses have a control ring, and this adapter has one, and you could set that electronically for whatever you want. I use it as an ISO, so basically what used to be film speed. I use it to manage that. So my two hands are aperture, shutter, and then my other hand could do the ISO really quick, which are the three major settings you're going to be messing with if you're doing serious manual photography. And then I was a little worried about I was thinking about the length, how it's going to add length, but the R5 is so much shorter than a typical DSLR anyways that it just makes it almost normal. And the thing is, that's the whole thing with the mirrorless, is the lens could be closer to the sensor. So this is just moving it back to where the lens needed to be on an old DSLR anyways. But did I render the crash footage was in the right quality, right? Yeah, let's watch it. I was talking to kids while I was doing this too. Am I even in it? Am I down there in the corner? Not quite. It crashes right before you could see me. Yeah, but I let go of the sticks, and when it kept going, I was like, uh-oh. I didn't see where it went because I was watching the screen. So I'm like, why is it still moving? What did it just hit? And the kid who was talking to me, that's right by the Towpath Trail here in Akron, where that mural is. And the one kid's like, it crashed into the window on that office tower. He was like, do you think it'll be okay? And I'm like, well, I'm gonna find out, So, I actually did a video with the head maintenance guy at the PNC tower, so I was hoping he was gonna be there, because then he would recognize me, and I would have made more sense than the confusing conversation I had with the security desk woman. But I said his name, and she was like, no, he left like 20 minutes ago. So I was like, dang it. Because I actually got to go up on the roof of the PNC building, which was really cool. We were doing Akron to Akron walks, which used to be like a, tour your own city, see stuff you don't get to see in your city. But we did them all virtual this year, so we made videos, and my friend Greg Milo was like the host, and I filmed him. But yeah, so I was on the roof, and then I crashed my drone into it. So let's see. What else is exciting and new? Oh yeah, my sorry, I wrote it down. My little store, my little online store. So I think these. Excuse me. So all right. Ben says if you get the chance to try the Arche Candy Cane Milk Stout, you should. It's pretty enjoyable. I don't like mint. Um, I think the only thing I could eat, like mint on its own, that's fine. A mint or gum. I hate mint and like I don't like mint chocolate. I don't like mint chocolate ice cream. So I can't imagine that I would like that. But I could see why other people would like a candy cane milk stout. I haven't had an Arche in a while. They do sell some Arche at the drive-thru over here, but one of our riding buddies owns the brewery that's actually in the same building as Arche. I shouldn't try it. Yeah, so you know, we end up going over there instead. I did have Arche, their original location down in the valley. I stopped in there one day to get lunch and had one of their West Coast IPAs with lunch. Um, that was over the summer before everything was ramping up like it is now, with the pandemic, which is now eating inside is going to be probably not happening. So it's one of those weird dilemmas where it's like I really want to support local business, but I don't want to go in. So I think maybe trying to do some of the carry outs and stuff like that be a good idea. Try and still some of my favorite places downtown. I actually over Thanksgiving weekend did see my parents on Friday. Me and them met up because now downtown Akron you could drink outside within. They have what's in Ohio called a DORA, a designated outdoor refreshment area. So like, and then there's a park right across this, right downtown, with, and they put up a bunch of Christmas lights. It's right next to where I just showed the drone footage from. Um, so we walked into Lockview, one of my favorite restaurants. I know the owner, been friends with him forever. My band used to play at his bars, and actually one of my tenants in the apartments upstairs works for him. So we walked in and grabbed beers with our masks on. Then we walked around and looked at the lights, and I got to hang out with my parents for a little bit. What's the point of the story? Arche, something. I don't know. I do not remember what the point is. Oh, we went back to get another beer, and there was not many people in there. There was a couple people in the booth, so we actually left a space on the bar stools and had our masks on when we weren't taking a sip, and actually did sit inside and hang out and enjoy a drink. But it's one thing with the weather changing. I like had fun riding in the snow today, but I'm like, man, that's gonna be a bummer. Not like in the winter too. Like when it's really cold, like say 22 to like 17. I could do maybe 45 minutes to an hour, and no matter what I'm wearing after that, my hands and feet are going to get cold. So when me and Ben from up here would do our group rides, it's like that's perfect. So we could ride down to Barberton or out to Peninsula, and then get in somewhere, have a couple beers, eat some food. By the time you're starting to get feeling back and everything, then you could make it all the way home. And this year I'm thinking like, well, we haven't been. We actually stopped doing the group rides the last couple of weeks because the situation is so bad. But that was one of those things. I'm like, man, we don't have that like opportunity. We almost need to just like make a loop, and I don't know. That's the problem with the whole bubble thing and all that. Everyone does their own things on their, some of the group has their own things going on, so it makes it a little different and a little more difficult. Whereas, me and Ben and Aaron all live alone, so if we see each other, we kind of are all isolated in our own way, and then we're the only ones each other would see in a indoor situation. But yeah, it sucks. It just sucks. Oh yeah, this is what I was talking about for a minute. So I started a print-on-demand store, which this shirt I'm wearing, my friend actually took my logo and kind of modified it and hand screen printed it. I actually had him do some musette bags too, which are pretty cool. And those, I think I still have some of these left. These are like, I have them, like they're hand screen printed. So they're like $15 a piece. So if you're local, they could be Venmoed and dropped off. Same with the shirts. I think I have some mediums left, sold most of the rest. So I decided to do like this online Teespring store because these are print on demand. So you don't have to pay anything to be on Teespring. You could just put the stuff up and then people could buy it. But the guys who originally made my logo, I sent them some sketches for my design idea of, just clicking on the wrong screen, of industrial gravel, which is kind of like, what I call what we ride around here, because it's not those like beautiful Western fire roads that people ride. Here we have like these abandoned train tracks and factories. And so I thought they did a really cool job of taking my sketch and making it into something way better. I love that he put like the bike inside the factory. And then he used, on this one, he used the font that they used for my logo, which is something I asked him to do. And then he made another one. I told him, I was like, it doesn't have to be this sketch. I was like, it could be a tire and smokestacks and all that. And he came up with this design for that one, which I think is pretty cool too. This one has Akron on it, so if you're local, it's something you might like. But I had him put 2015, he had established 2020. I was like, can you change that to 2015? Because that's when me and Ben started riding together and kind of discovering all the weird off-road stuff that we didn't know existed, just like even right through the center of downtown Akron here and stuff like that. So they did a third design. I don't have it up there yet, but I will eventually get that going. I also want to put these I also want to put some in like these pouches. I ordered a sample of that, and these things are great. Actually, the printing quality is really cool. It's almost like it's in the fabric. But I actually used this tonight. I was wearing my backpack because I was bringing my camera to Dirty River to take some pictures of Aaron's Bombora. But so even though there are dividers in that bag, stuff like your chain tool and all that are going to slide out, and I don't want that stuff rubbing on the back of my camera. So they're perfect like little dividers, the extra tube, a lock, chain tool, levers, and all that kind of thing. And I didn't know what they'd be like. So before I even told anyone that I had the store, I ordered samples of everything, the shirts and all that kind of stuff. The Bombora build's coming along. So got the headset put in, did that at the shop because, it's specialized tools to do that right. And they also machined the head tube and machined the bottom bracket. Now she has most of the parts. So with having the shop do that, I think Aaron wants to do another stream of us starting to actually put it together a little more. I guess they're going to hand build the wheels at Dirty River. She still needs to pick the hubs and what she wants for that. I'm trying to think of what else we talked about it tonight. It's such a beautiful bike. It's so cool looking. She has they cut the fork too. So it does have the fork and the headset on there, but everything else, going to do it ourselves. And so she needs the wheels to be built. Oh, and the brakes. So they put some adapters, but they had to order the brakes. It's weird because the two different disc brake standards, what is it, flat mount and, you guys know better than me, flat mount and, why can't I think of that word? Regardless, it's different on that bike. Each one is different. So IS. Yes, thank you. So I think they had one and they put an adapter on one so it would have the same two brakes. Ben would know better than I do. Yeah. I only have one bike with disc brakes and I couldn't even, international standard. Yeah. And I couldn't even tell you which ones those have, even though I've asked Otis like 3 times and I try to commit it to memory. But I think mine are some TRP brakes that are awesome. No, they're not. They're mechanical, and I don't really feel like they're that much better than my rim brake bikes, except, when it's wet out, they definitely are better for that. Rim brakes are so easy to adjust. Me and Ben from up here, who watch your face, he just got some, and I think I talked about this a couple weeks ago, some Paul components ones, and I really want to get those, even though they're really pricey, just because they look so simple to adjust and work on. I feel like they're like life brakes. I'd put those on my gravel bike and then, be able to know how to do the things with them and they would be forever brakes. Whereas I just, yeah, I don't know. My bike's even though my bike is a disc brake bike too, it's 2014, so it's still quick release. It's not even a through axle, which would be probably a little more convenient, maybe. Yeah, clampers. That's what. Yeah. Did you put those on anything yet, Ben? The clampers? I was actually watching. I think he's actually live right now too. Russ from Pathless Pedal. When he talked about them, I'm like, I want these. I saw how expensive they were, and I'm like, okay, we'll buy the front one, put the front one on, save for that, and then hold off and get the rear one when you feel like you want to justify spending that money. So maybe in the spring, the winter, see how the winter goes. But I haven't put them on anything. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff I like. I like simple stuff. Even tonight, we were kind of joking around with Erin talking about her uh, headset and all that, and I'm like, what did Yonda ask me? Yonda, the mechanic over there, do I have a star nut setter? And I was like, dude, I ride bikes with quill stems. I don't I don't need that. And we're talking about the length and all that. I'm like, oh, if I want to change the length, I put an Allen wrench in there and I turn it and I raise it, then I tighten it back down. But just one of those goofy bike shop things where we're arguing with each other about me with my outdated stuff that's so simple and I like. Oh, really? He shouted out Ohio to Erie, Bicycle Nomad on Pathless Pedaled? Huh. Did he say he's ridden the Ohio to Erie trail? I was talking tonight to Ben and with Aaron building up the Bombora. We've done the Ohio to Erie Trail, so we start hearing. Oh, we meet in Akron and then go down to Cincinnati. We've done it 4 and 5 days with some detours. I was saying maybe with Aaron get her Bombora next build up instead of me taking my Trek 500. Ben already rides his All City, or your Monsoon, Gorilla Monsoon. That'd be cool. Maybe we look into some alternative routes that would include some gravel, and we could camp at some more isolated spots and all that. I think that'd be really cool. But I have a blast when we do the Ohio area. I love just leaving from my door with everything I need, and yeah, spending days out on the road. I was trying to find that. See if I could. Trying to. Well, I'm talking about Ohio to Erie. I might as well have some Ohio to Erie footage up. Yeah, it's the beginning of our trip. Through axle is nice, but not really needed. I could see it helping for aligning with disc brakes, right? Is that the big benefit of it through axle? Yeah, when I watch pro races and it's like they're taking forever to switch the disc brakes. If I was a pro, there's no, maybe on mountain stages, maybe if it was going to be wet, but I think I'd be way better off with the rim brakes. Ohio Deer, you want to come on the Ohio Deer ride? Actually, this year, or the video I'm showing, this is down in Amish country what's playing now. And this is the first night, but the second day we rode all the way to Columbus and stayed with my friend Brad, and then he joined us for the rest of the route, which is kind of cool. So both years we've done it, we've done Akron to Millersburg, and then Millersburg to Columbus, which makes for almost a century ride the second day, but you have all day to do it. Uh, and we had this beautiful weather this first night too, as you can see. And those are the Amish. They ride e-bikes now, or I'm sure certain groups do. The Amish are not like one big church. There's every little local one has local control, but you're just getting all this lady with a bonnet and a skirt is just blowing by you, and it's so funny when it happens. There's Ben slamming a beer. Yeah, this is this place we stay outside Millersburg. It's not on the trail. We do, I think it's 5 miles outside of Millersburg and off the trail. But there's this swimming pond, so it's we found it on the map the first year, and then we decided to go back. It wasn't maintained as well this year, and it was packed this year. We went Fourth of July weekend both years, but with people not being able to travel this year and a lot not being open, it turned out there was a lot of people around, which was weird. It's still worth it. So the cool thing about leaving from home is, and going down to Millersburg, a bunch of the people who I'm showing here only joined us for one night. Leaving here, leaving Millersburg, only me, Ben, Brad, not the one from Columbus, and Aaron went on. This is actually where we're saying goodbye to each other. They're all heading back to Akron, so they just did an overnighter, and the rest of us are heading on down the trail, that's one of the reasons I like not to have to drive somewhere and just here's the part two, leaving there on our way to Columbus. But Jam says he did the Pitt DC trip, so you did the Gap Trail, and then the what's the second part? There's two parts. The Gap Trail goes to Cumberland. Me and Aaron did the Gap Trail in 3 days. So we did Pittsburgh to Cumberland. We did it in a strange order with the train because we actually rode the train half the way. OTET is similar. It's a little more. I actually like Ohio to Erie. Gap CNO. Yeah, CNO. I couldn't think of that. So everything is as nicely as paved as the Gap part is, especially in Pennsylvania. It's almost always paved or at least nice crushed limestone. The towpath is probably actually the least nice part of it, which is very nice. But I found the Gap Trail got a little monotonous, even though it's all pretty. It's all the same level of pretty. And then Ohio to Erie, like in Amish country, did have some climbs, a couple steep climbs, but again, put it in easy gear, get up them. Nothing, and it was worth it because it was so pretty. You know what I mean? You're like, these climbs are worth climbing, and then being able to see everything. And then a little outside Columbus, there's a couple climbs on the second day here where I'm just showing where there was the farm footage. There are a couple climbs there, but it's in general pretty flat. You think Ohio to Erie is easier? Well, like I said, I only did Gap, and so from Cumberland to the Continental Divide is what a railroad grade, a long 1% grade. So and then that part was mostly cinders, and at least when me and Aaron rode it, it was kind of washed out, and you had to pay attention a little bit to the ground. But I felt like it was pretty simple. It's hard to say. So what this is over 300 miles. Just the Gap section that we did was 150. So if you did all the CNO, then you're pretty similar. People have told me, yeah, CNO can beat you up. People have told me if you get caught in bad weather on the CNO, some of it could get real muddy and you could get bogged down. Our friend Carl, who did it, he did it in pouring rain, and he said the CNO part was tough in the rain. Like they were really having a rough time of it. But I can't speak to that. I haven't done it. That's just from what someone has told me. We break off the trail here to go to the state park camp. I think we did it twice. It fit in with the mileage of when we wanted to stop, and then also being able to swim. So, and this is also another detour. We hit another trail from, if Ben's still here, maybe he remembers, but we broke off and hit another bike trail and then rejoined it and added another day to the trip. Yeah, so that right there was Brad, who we picked up in Columbus. I actually need to grab another beer, so I'll be right back. Hey, that's me. I took a little leak too. Oh, a little Miami, yes. Yeah, there's a real Ohio to Erie has a real boring section, and that's why when we saw that we could detour this way, we did. This is, and it's an old, it's a rail right away, rail trail, but it's just straight and flat for like 30, 40 miles to Xenia, between Xenia and London. I was saying I would rather climb hills like in Amish country where it's beautiful than ride this section. We were losing our minds. This would be a year ago, 4th of July. And it's funny because when I hear people complain, like there's a Ohio Deary group on Facebook that's very active, and when people are like, "How bad are the hills in Amish country?" and I'm like, "They're not as bad as the like mind-numbing monotony of riding that section between London and Xenia." To me, I'd rather climb a couple hills and have it be pretty. Like this is just flat, mega farm country where, and you see these telephone poles as far as you can see in this direction and as far as you can see in that direction. And I was so glad we skipped out on that this year. And the little Miami was beautiful. And then that, did you say what the little, what the town we stopped in was really cool. Went to a bike shop there where the guys were awesome. We had breakfast at a place where the guy gave me I think we had coffee and we were talking about like beer, but it was too early. And he's like, "We have to try this," and brought over some beers from local breweries just for free. Yellow Springs, yes, Yellow Springs. Yeah. So basically in Cincinnati, we got an Airbnb. Next day, went around, got some food and stuff, and then we went and picked up a truck, which with COVID ended up being kind of a mess. And they had messed up the truck situation. We had to ride almost 10 miles to get the truck. But then we drove to Columbus, dropped Columbus Brad off, and then back here. Are there any hiker biker sites in Ohio State parks? Hiker biker. What does that mean? Like, oh yeah, that would, of course, that'd be your home trails. Ben. Yeah, what do you mean by hiker biker? So like you mean like ride in and then be able to hike around? Because the answer to that would be yes. We always ride we look at the road path even if we want to go swimming or go pick up some beer or whatever. We've had a problem with Ohio to Erie, having it even in Ben having it in his computer and having it on our phone. Outside from Westerville to Columbus, we've got lost 2 years in a row. And this year we were aware that that was going to be a problem. So we were like hyper aware. And we ended up even going a different way to get to my friend Brad's house and being confused and lost. All of a sudden the signs just stopped being there. Bike packing, I think that's mostly just Ninja. Not sure. Yeah, that's what. But yeah, that's the only spot we ever had a problem with. Towpath Trail between. So if you did start in Cleveland and rode all the way to where you break off towards Amish country, there's another trail. You don't need signs. It's all simple. But then once you do break off in Amish country and you're on roads and they're all mellow, like there's a sign at every intersection. And then you get on bike trails for long sections. And when you're not outside in Columbus, you're in farm country, there's signs. Then you get to Westerville and all the signs go away. And we've gotten confused every time. We always tell people who ask us, like, "Oh, you guys have done that. Is there anything we should be aware of?" And we're like, I mean, if you've never bike packed before, like do an overnighter first so you get, a little bit of the experience of knowing what your bike's going to feel like weighted down, what you're going to feel like riding a weighted down bike, because it is very different. But you're like, no, there's still, you're not in the wilderness here in Ohio. There's gas stations. Even in a COVID year, there's plenty of your places to stop if you need water or supplies. But it's just about like getting used to the feel of your bike. But then we warn them, we're like, really study the map between Westerville and Columbus. It confuses the hell out of us, even knowing it was going to confuse us. Choose a reduced race for touring folks. They're $5. Oh, I see what you're saying. London is so London has that like really cool site right there with the little shelter. I think we stopped there both years, and they have a little like shower like system you can use in a bathroom. Our one friend stayed there though, and the problem was there was a generator and a light that kicked on. He said all night long, and drove him insane. Yeah, he was coming up. He came up from Cincinnati, and I remember he was telling us about that section between Xenia and London where he was like, I was losing my mind. I couldn't imagine doing that section solo. I mean, I guess I can, but not on a long trip. If it was just, So, what do we recommend for winter gloves on a drop bar bike? So, tonight was 28. I wore my wool gloves. Uh, Akron Ben jump in and tell me what brand those are. And then I just put fleece gloves over them, and I was fine with that. But I have a pair of lobster ones that are waterproof that I wear on really cold nights, and I'll adjust what I wear underneath them. So maybe I'll just go wool and the lobsters, or all three if it's like 17 degrees out. Those are my lobster gloves. I think are 45 North waterproof gloves. Ben has bar mitts on his Gorilla Monsoon. Defeat, yeah, my wool gloves are Defeat, and I'll wear those till like 36, 35. Yeah. Yeah, if you're Pennsylvania and riding in the really cold, I could see why people use bar mitts. I've never drop bar mitts are a game changer. Yeah. I feel like if I wear my double layered, my Defeat wool gloves, the fleece gloves over it, and then the 45 North lobsters, like I could ride in almost any temperature for about an hour, and after that, no matter what, my fingers are cold. Where maybe bar mitts would still be doing something for me there. My my winter bike is a flat bar bike though. That's my Trek 4900, which so maybe bar mitts would be a smart thing to get for that. Drop bar. Ben told me he's told me that it's like you get used to it. It's probably just like I ride with toe cages and toe straps sometimes, but it always when I just see people in them that makes me so nervous. The fact that your hands are in there, but then I also think about the fact if I'm ever need to put my hand down because I'm gonna fall, I'm already falling, so it's probably not that big of a deal. Oh, South Charleston and Cedarville, Columbus. Ben says mentally brutal. It's good for you. I can imagine. Well, you're down there. I mean, my other friend Brad, who was in the videos from Columbus, he misses that about Northeast Ohio as our topography. And when I first got back into cycling, living here in Cuyahoga Falls, so the Cuyahoga River is right over here, and that's the bridge. If you watch my videos, I'm always crossing over the Cuyahoga River. No matter where I go, there's almost going to be a hill. But now I've learned to appreciate that, and especially with my friend from here, Brad, who moved to Columbus, and he was like, "The flat is boring." He was like, "I'll take your hills any day of the week. Your parks are better. Riding's better." There's always days where you don't want to hit a hill, and we have ways to lessen them, to spread them out. But yeah, I guess that might be just one of the things for me is where I think I would rather climb a hill and get the scenery than that. Just some of that monotonous flat stuff it wears on me. And it's probably just because this is where I grew up. I'm used to the Cuyahoga Valley and the Towpath Trail and the changing scenery. Insulated leather? Oh, you're from Maine. Oh, yeah. Then you definitely do well with the weather. That's different altogether. Yeah. Not only are you dealing with the cold, but yeah, cold coming off the sea and all that stuff in Maine, right? My first girlfriend was from Maine. She was from Portland. Um, that's where she actually lives again now. Her dad passed away and she moved back there and moved into his house. I've never visited her and we're still friends. And she's had like an open invitation, like, you know, come up and see me. Come, bring your girlfriend. Like I said, it looks so beautiful, but I just have not, it's not something I pulled off doing in my travel itinerary, but I would love to see it and familiar with it for that reason. Portland sounded interesting because they almost kind of liked winter because they had it to themselves. But then in the summer, it's almost like a tourist town, I guess. And I think she even, when I met her, was telling me she had worked in a brewery. And this is, when I was dating her, it was 2001. And so she had already been here for a few years her dad moved here to work he was a professor at University of Akron from there. So yeah, like a brewery. And like, what do you mean, like Budweiser? And I didn't even know what that was. All I cared about was PBR in those days, Listening to the Strokes, playing in my band, and drinking PBRs. So someone telling me about a microbrewery, yeah, because no one said craft brewery back then. He said microbrewery in a tourist town. Was pretty interesting. Wow. I can really ramble after a couple of these Imperial IPAs, huh, guys? It would really be cool I've seen other people do they do that Discord thing where people could talk like with the vocals during these live streams. But I'd also like to figure out how to can I picture in picture like some of you guys up here who are always in here? It'd be pretty fun to do. So it's not just like the text chat, which works, but it'd be really cool to be able to do really talking to each other on this stuff, which again would be something that I would be learning to be able to do live streams better, but also just more fun and entertaining, I think, for all of us, right? If you guys didn't mind being on camera. Instagram lets you do it very easily. I haven't tried to patch into Instagram using the kind of software and stuff I use now. I did watch some tutorials on kind of simulcasting to YouTube and Facebook at the same time. I thought that'd be cool to do some stuff in the bike shop. You don't have to put pants on. You just have to zoom in, But yeah, keep it above the waist, just like Elvis. But yeah, I was thinking if we did some of the stuff in the bike shop, like what we were doing today, it would be cool to, put it to the bike shop's Facebook group, where there'd be more people talking, and then also to YouTube for my channel and the people who always join us over here. A kilt. Just keep your legs crossed if you wear that kilt. Zoomies. I've heard of that, but why can't I think of what that is? Erin actually watched a cat video the other night. She's got her 2 kittens, if you've seen in the video. But she watches these cat tutorials, and the one guy was talking about zoomies, and it's when cats are running around in the night and how you could put them on a schedule so they don't do that. And I'm like, you don't get cats, so you have to have them on a schedule. You get cats so you don't have to freaking worry about them. Oh, Zoom. Yeah. I think that's what people do. And then even with this, when people do interviews like Pathless Pedaled, they're using Zoom, but then they're patching through the better camera and stuff like that. So they're communicating through Zoom, but then you're getting the feeds from the better cameras in the OBS software, open broadcast software. As much as it's fun to do it on the laptop and have on location, it's so nice to do it on my desktop, hardwired to the internet, 2 screens, all the space in the world to really mess around with all this stuff. What time is it? 10:05. Jeez. Have any of you guys watched any of the cyclocross season? Me and Ben were talking about that earlier in the bike shop. Not something I had ever paid as much attention to. Maybe watch some highlights and stuff like that, but watch the last couple laps of the World Cup race. Van Aert coming in 3rd the other day. Pre-pandemic talking together, yeah, we could actually, swear to God, yeah, my other friend Brad in Columbus, like I was saying, he came up here and he worked one day, and then he's like, come down here and do the same thing. I'm like, that's a little harder for me, but I'm like, maybe it's a day where I need to just do invoicing and all that, and then I could ride around into the brewery, and now it's like, psh, that seems like a bad idea. But yeah, even more fun than talking on the internet would be going and actually riding bikes together, right? Like that would be the ideal thing, which hopefully this summer we're able to do. Oh, the last thing you watched was the Volta. Yeah, the Volta was exciting. I enjoyed watching it, even with, well, plus knowing it was the last pro road racing of the year. Flavor Town. GDM. Yeah, yeah. I watch cyclocross when I do watch it. I'm like, it's such another world. It looks so brutal in a different way than road racing. And then how you know, the accidents, all that could really change everything. Yeah, Sepp Kuss, man. Watching him, I'm just like, EF has got to sign this guy. EF's my favorite team, but get the American on the American squad. I mean, I think that dude, he's got to be a Grand Tour contender in his own right. Yeah, Jumbo Visma, he can't do anything over there. They have too many Grand Tour contenders over there. They need yeah. He was, yeah, unbelievable. Some of those climbs, he looked like he was going to drop, my brain is failing me. You started with mountain bikes, so how, yeah. I mean, I always rode mountain bikes first. We didn't have mountain bike trails around here. We were talking about this earlier, too. I rode, like, the hiking trails and the bridle trails and all that kind of stuff. But was never, like, that serious into it. And when I got road bikes, I really liked road bikes. But watching road racing, I just love. I think it's the strategy type thing. It just keeps it so intriguing. It's not about who's fastest. It's about playing all these cards. And that's with Sepp Kuss, too. I mean, like, man, to have him climbing up the mountains and leading like that, like I said, there were times where I think he was, looking over his shoulder to wait for the race leader. If they were just going for stages, if that was not a Grand Tour team, Jumbo Visma, I think Sepp Kuss would have won a couple of those really, really brutal stages. Roglic, yeah, Raj. Everyone, I watch British coverage, American coverage, and I think the one guy on NBC Sports School is from Australia, so the pronunciations are all over the place. Yeah, the World Cup, I think it should have been, like I said, I'm not a huge cyclocross follower, but I've been watching it this year. I think they're only having 6 races, which is about half the season or something like that. Read the comments. There's a fruit fly in here too, if you wonder why I'm swiping around. I had a pie pumpkin sitting out here that started to rot, and now I have fruit flies everywhere. I got rid of the pie pumpkin, for the record. Yeah, I think that in going forward, it's something I would definitely be watching more cyclocross. It's exciting. Plus, you're kind of seeing what's happened so much, so especially this year, is how many cyclocross riders have come over and been amazing road riders. I mean, it's amazing watching how Vanderpool just dominated cyclocross the last few years, but then Van Aert is so much better of the road racer, except for in Flanders, which was amazing to watch those two go head to head with no one else coming in. I think we talked about that on one of these live ones. They have this, though, so James asks, Spring Classic is going to happen in 21. They have them on the calendar. So the UCI has released the Spring Classic calendar, and they're all in their normal place. So Paris-Roubaix, Flanders, H3, all the, yeah, everything is said to be there. We'll see what happens. Man, the fact that Roubaix was going to come back and then didn't was killer. Like, that's Flanders is all. I'm probably on par Flanders and Paris-Roubaix, but I went and watched Paris-Roubaix once, so to have been there, like, that one's extra exciting for me, just to be like, I've been in the Arenberg. I saw the Arenberg in person. I want to see it on TV now. I went the year Sagan won, 2018. Me and Aaron decided we were going to go to France, and so I made sure it was lined up with Paris-Roubaix, and we took the TJV, the high-speed rail up there, and it was awesome. Taylor Phinney came in top 10 that year, and we're walking around. I'd never seen a pro race in person, because why would I? Because I'm from the United States. So after we got into the velodrome, we got to watch the finish in the velodrome. Sagan and the Swiss rider who came in together, who went into that late break together, and it was amazing. The energy was amazing. It was awesome. And then we walk out of the velodrome, and I start seeing the team buses, and I'm like, oh, there's Sky, the Sky at the time, anyways. And I'm like, got my 5D 4 on me, and I'm just like snapping pictures, and I'm like, we're allowed to be over here. I didn't realize, you could just walk through all the buses. And then Aaron's like, is there any, pro rider you would specifically like to see? And I'm like, now I was like, Taylor Finney came in the top 10. He's kind of one. He's just such a cool dude. I love his social media. His EF and the whole thing. And I was like, but what are the chances? And she looks at me and she goes, isn't that him right there? And I was like, yes. It was Taylor Finney and Sepp Van Mark. Sepp Van Mark had always been EF's, classics guy. Fortunately left this year. But and so he had just finished signing autographs. And they got the dirt on their face and everything. I think I have this picture somewhere that I could probably show you guys. And I'm like, I couldn't bring myself to bother him, but I held out my camera and got this great picture of the two of them just looking absolutely exhausted. Let's see, where's the search? Brother. Oh yeah, so that's the guy hoisting the trophy. I can make this full screen somehow. There we go. Yeah. Oh, I shot this one because there's Finney in the velodrome. Yeah, there's a Sagan right after he won. I had my 85 millimeter on me, 1.8. As the Arenberg. Oh, I had Aaron holding my GoPro so I could get some video. Oh, there's Taylor Finney. People crossed the way there. The people who were in our group. It was like a British tour brush thing. Oh, there's Sagan out on the course before he broke away. Sepp Van Mark at the beginning in Compiègne. Finney signing in. Do I not have yet a photo of? Oh yeah, EF had Teslas there as their team cars for Roubaix. Huh. I didn't put that on the. Weird. I actually have the photo of Taylor and Sepp Van Mark framed here in the studio. But reading the chat here, what you guys are talking about. I'm just off on my own reminiscing about being in Roubaix, which Roubaix was it felt like a British industrial town. Very strange place. Dayton's a place I would like to go back to. I just see Dayton in your guys' conversation. Me and Aaron went down there, rode bikes, and there's a lot of good trails and ways to ride around down there too. Had some really good breweries down there. Whoops, where did I find that? Too many beers, hitting the wrong buttons. Pull up some Dayton riding. What do you guys talk? I like how Dayton has that like Cincinnati vibe too, like that Rivertown vibe. It's very different looking than Northeast Ohio. Like the architecture is different. You feel like you're definitely in a different place. Not as Rust Belt feeling to me, anyways. White shades, my night foundation glasses. My friend Kyle's the program director for Night Foundation. He always gives me those. It's funny now with the way cameras advance. When I see shaky footage, I can't stand it. But that's how GoPros and my Canons were back then. Oh yeah, so this little brewery was awesome. What's that? Fifth Street? Yeah. Oh, that Schwinn. I ended up selling that Schwinn to the guy who owns Akron Recording Company. I also pulled some parts off that and put it on my Roger Riviera. How, this brewery was awesome. The view looks over the city. How then we went to Toxic Brewing. You gotta get, dude, I'm telling you, you gotta get that 9. Get that GoPro 9. It is so worth it. Like I said, I'm still using the 8, but the stabilization is just so awesome. So this is all filmed on my 5 right here. The stuff in the brewery is probably filmed on my 5D, but the actual riding footage is that water. I didn't know they just like Dayton has this thing where on the hour they just spray this water all over the place because they're like I can't remember now. Like they're like they have like these fresh springs that run into the city that are like unending or something. Yeah, then we went at Wright Patterson. We didn't stop in. I was there when I was younger, but we just rode through. But even this, I could see how shaky it is. And the new GoPros, the 8 and the 9 would just be smooth as butter on stuff like this, especially with this great light. That's the Wright Museum. Obviously, I had to go over there. I mean, bicycle guys who invent airplanes, right? You spray all the place every hour too. What trip is this? Bikes and Mounds. Oh, this one we went down to. Have you guys ever gone to the Serpent Mound? Have you been down there from down there in Columbus? And the Hopewell sites? This is a trip I always wanted to do. We did this is part of the Ohio to Erie Trail, but this was just a separate trip. But I wanted to ride and see the Fort Ancient, like all those ancient, the really old Native American sites, American Indian sites in Ohio. And man, is the Serpent Mound in the middle of freaking nowhere, right? The largest effigy mound in the world. Yeah. Yeah, most of these ancient like American Indian mounds, like people just turned into they've all plowed over. Like one trip we did, we went down to Marietta and rode around a little bit in the original town was laid out so that the centerpiece was these historic American Indian mounds, and now then the later settlers didn't care about that and just plowed most of them over. The library sits on one. It's frustrating, We act like there's no history around here, but we basically destroyed most of it. Serpent Mound sits on that crazy plateau, so there would have been no reason to build there. But yeah, Fort Ancient, you can't. Most of it is private property. There's only part of it that's a park. This is what I started to do when I started to make YouTube videos. These were after the beer review and trying to do photography videos. But what I do now, this is when I started to kind of do that style. And that's when I got the GoPro 8. I'm like, I'm going to bring this back. It's fun to do, and I want to do more of it. Newark. Yeah, I haven't been to the ones in Newark, the earthworks down there. Yeah, there's Serpent Mound. And it's amazing. They still know, like, nothing about it. Like, they don't, even, like, trying to date it, they don't, like, they're like, there's because there could have been like, there were, tribes from way later that used it for different purposes that might not be the original construction. It's like, yeah, we just don't know. I mean, same with South America, and even with the Maya, the Europeans purposefully destroyed all their records that were written records, and it's like we sit here studying stuff that was like it was all written there, and now we don't know. So frustrating. Yeah, things change, whatever, or do they? Right. Yeah, I won't ever regret getting down to Serpent Mound. That was totally worth it. I remember seeing that in the history books. I think, if you, I don't know how many of you guys are from Ohio, but we had to learn Ohio history in either 7th or 8th grade. And I remember just, it's one of those things where I'm like, I want to see that in real life. Should we wrap this up? Call it a night? I really do plan, and I always say this, but to keep the Tuesday and Thursday thing going. But I think now with the time change, the seasonal change, and I feel like I have finally really slowed down with work, and I think it'll continue to be slower. There was a crazy push late summer, and I think it was like when people weren't being as serious about lockdown, and they hadn't done a bunch of stuff, and they had it all built up. I was like crazy busy, like kind of catching up, I think, on everything clients hadn't done. And then now going forward, I think people started to freak out about everything's about to close down again. We need to get a bunch of stuff done. So it's a good thing, but I think over the winter, it might be kind of like last year. I think there'll be a little more, like really March, April, May last year. I was barely working. That's why I started, getting back into this YouTube stuff, photo projects, film photography. I think going forward there will be, will, like with it being winter, do some of the snow ride videos, but there'll be some film and some photography stuff. So stuff I like to do, but yeah, I don't know. These live streams, I do have a good time, and glad you guys joined me and hang out and talk. So anyways, oh, I didn't put the outro video on this. It's only on my laptop, right? So I guess we'll just say goodbye and watch a drone crash one more time, right? Peace, y'all.